Hi there, my name is Charlotte, and this podcast is about my ideas on how teaching English might change in the future. I'll also talk a little bit about books and how they're used for GCSEs and the teacher's role in the classroom moving forwards. If you haven't heard any of my podcasts before, my name is Charlotte, and I have experience working in a nursery school from the ages of 0 to 4, and I currently work in a primary school as a Year 2 teacher in London. So to begin with, I'm going to talk about how students were taught in the past and how they're being taught now. In the past, schools usually had one teacher for a classroom and they had 30 students. All the students would sit on a chair, have a little desk or a table. They had a pencil, a pen, a notebook. The teacher would stand at the front, maybe in front of a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and the students would listen to the teacher and take notes from them. Then the teacher would set homework at the end of the week, and the next week set up the tests. So the students would have to take the test on Monday or Tuesday or whatever day it would be. And then the teacher would mark all their work. And if they didn't understand the information, then the teacher would probably have to go over it again and reteach what they didn't know. If the students didn't do their homework, or say they misbehaved or they didn't do well in their test, then they might have got a little punishment. Maybe they got sent to detention or they received a physical punishment in the past. Nowadays, schools use reward charts to support the children. We still have maybe 30 children to a class, but this teacher would also have a learning support assistant to help out as well. So it wouldn't just be one teacher with 30 children. It might be two people in the room supporting the children at given times and helping them out. Of course, there are also students who may need a one-to-one, and this just means that they have one person supporting them all the time because of their special needs or whatever they need to help them to progress. We don't have physical punishment anymore. What we do have is reward charts, as I mentioned earlier on. And the students can move themselves up and down the scale. The higher up the scale, the more likely they are to receive a reward, say, maybe at the end of the week or the end of the day. The lower down the scale, then the more likely that their parents will be talked to and will be involved. And maybe their parents would do their punishment at home or do what they need to do to see fit to tell the child to behave themselves. If the student has done something really, really bad, then the incident is escalated to the head teacher, and it could result in a suspension or exclusion from the school for a period of time. And that's only in really exceptional circumstances. Recently, during the years of 2020 and 2022, the whole world had to go into lockdown due to COVID-19. And everyone was not sure what was going to happen. No one was sure what to expect, especially in terms of teachers and how we would teach. It raised a lot of different questions, and teachers were worried for their jobs, first of all, and they were worried for the students as well. Some of the questions raised were like, how were we going to get the students to learn when we couldn't physically be in the room with them? That was one of the major questions. Another question that we were asking was, how were we going to check students were doing their work? This is really hard because you can't see what they're doing. You can tell them what to do over Zoom or Skype or Microsoft Teams or whatever software you were using, but you couldn't actually see if the child was actually doing the work. So you just had to trust that they were doing it. And another question that was on our minds was, what does this whole situation mean for teachers? And how are we changing how we do things? Which is a valid question. It was very new. Everyone had to go on Zoom, or they had to use Microsoft Teams, or they had to use Skype a lot more than they used to. And yeah, it was very much independent. Children were given more freedom, I guess, in that sense, because we only can do what we can do. We can only show them and teach them. We can only do, at that point, we were doing PowerPoint slides, maybe a little presentation. We go through the presentation and we just hope that the children then put the work in. There wasn't really much else we could do. The government then had to help us to, support us, but the only thing they could do was just give us answers and what to do during that time. And for 2 years, everything was online. And we all thought, wow, this is it. This is what we're going to be like moving forwards. Everything will be online. Everyone's going to be talking over Zoom, over Microsoft Word, Teams. We're just going to be using these softwares to get our teaching across. We didn't think that we would physically be together because it was for such a long time. We weren't sure when, well, no one was sure when we would return back to physical face-to-face classes. So it's quite an interesting development. And it's quite an extraordinary feat when you think about it. We are actually very lucky to be living with all this amazing technology at the moment. This technology evolved so quickly and so fast. When you think about it, it's kind of mind-blowing. I remember when I was a kid, this type of technology of face-to-face interaction over a computer or seeing someone over a computer and talking to them and hearing their voice was, I think it was proposed around the years of 1995 to 2000. And people were just laughing at it. The technology developers were trying to evolve it and trying to get this out there. And they developed Skype. I remember it was the very first thing of its kind. It was amazing. Honestly, I could see my aunt. We could talk to each other. She's in Canada. I'm in the UK. We just set a time and say, what time is it over there? Call us at this time. We'll call you. It'll be like 6 o'clock here, 2 o'clock in the evening over there, 6 o'clock in the evening here, 2 o'clock in the evening over there. And we just call each other on Skype, and we could see each other, we could wave to each other, we could talk to each other, hear each other. It was amazing. And it was one of those things which was kind of like a science fiction movie at that time. And we just don't realize how lucky we are now, because it's just become so normal. We've normalized it. And if we don't get that, if we don't get to see somebody online, or we don't get to talk to them, and we can't hear them, we get upset. We feel mad because the internet goes down. We can't connect with anyone. We can't talk to anyone. We can't even watch those funny cat videos or animal videos that we love watching. So it's really quite amazing when you think about how quickly technology has developed so fast. And it's developed at this point in time where we are able to do that. When just 10, 20 years ago, it was thought of as a science fiction thing. It was just like, no way. How is that possible? It won't be possible. And for schools and teachers, this was really great for us because during the lockdown years, it was the only thing we could rely on. Everyone had to have an internet connection. Everyone had to have a computer, a laptop, and then we could just send through our PowerPoint, send through our work, talk to the kids online. Couldn't physically be there with them, but we were there with them in a way, virtually. So it's a really amazing thing. And it was interesting how quickly everyone adapted to it. Teachers had to adapt so fast and work out how to deal with it. There wasn't really any time to get over it and be like, we're all stuck in our houses now. We're just like on with it. What's that saying? Just carry on. Keep calm and carry on. That's the saying. That was the most relevant saying at the time of the lockdown. And I'm sure as we go forward through the years later on in the future, we'll still have that saying, keep calm and carry on. So it's quite interesting then when I think about the future and what it's going to be like for teachers going forwards. How are teachers going to be teaching in the future? Well, they just have to adapt and change the way that they teach. That is the only way they can work. Past methods were looked at, and if something is no longer working or it's no longer relevant, then it was scrapped immediately. It was thrown out the window, and the new methods were introduced and brought into place. In the future, teachers could work remotely from home. At the moment, teachers still work from home. We have people who are teaching English over Zoom to children in another country across the world. There are some different websites out there that support this, and you can actually then create your own, as a teacher, you create your own PowerPoint, you'll create your own teaching slides, and you can teach a child in China, you can teach a child in India, you can teach a child halfway across the world. Whatever it is that you're teaching them, you just send through your PowerPoint slides, you work out a time, when and where, You go on Zoom, you both sign in at the same time, and boom, then you start the lesson. You spend an hour with the teaching, and that's it. Your job done, and it's amazing. All we need is an internet connection, a laptop, a computer, headphones, and speakers, and off you go. It's crazy when you think about it, but so amazing. And it is just one of those things where teachers have adapted so fast to this, and it's just done. There's no question about it, which is really great. I personally think that humans need to teach other humans. There have been talk about replacing human teachers and making us redundant, replacing us with robots and robot teachers. And this calls into question about whether there'll be any need for human teachers in the future. People already use Google and search engines to ask questions and find out answers. So it does beg into question, why do we need a human when a robot can work just as well? Personally, I think that humans are needed. Humans need other humans. There's a need and a comfort to being taught by another human being. It's one person showing and passing on their life secrets or their life experiences, their personal experiences, and passing it on from them to another person. There's this connection between them, and it's to help support the children in their learning. Teachers are role models. We show the students how to say things, how to write things, how to do things, and students get inspired by us. They see us as the good role model, and they want to do just as well, or they want to replicate in their own way. And I think if they only had a robot teacher or a robot thing, they wouldn't get that personal experience. They wouldn't be able to get that inspiration, maybe. It'd be amazing. But after a while, I don't think it would be beneficial. The teacher's role is to support the students and help them to do things. They help to show how things can be done. And then they allow the students to explore and make changes and do it their own way. I'm not even sure if a robot could do that or do the same thing. I don't know, maybe I'm just going off my own personal experiences and what I think. If you think something different, then by all means, leave a comment below. Let me know. Get back to you. So I'm going to move on now before I carry on with this. I was going to talk about GCSE books for GCSE exams. What does it mean for GCSE exams? Well, for the UK, this actually depends on the government and the government's guidelines. At the moment, the government has set all the rules. They've said what books are acceptable for GCSE exams and why, because they want students to have a full understanding of all the changes in the English language from the 18th century up to now. But as the years go on, they could potentially change this to the 19th century and the 20th century writing. They could just move along with the times. In the 25th century, I'm sure, they could say that 18th century isn't needed anymore. Maybe we don't need to know about it. So we might need to know about 20th century writing, 21st century writing, and so on. And this means that the books will change as the years go by. Maybe they will change it from what they are now to more recent books. And once the government makes the changes, then it's up to the teachers to follow them, really. As I've said before in another podcast, the government has set the rules. The teachers, we are only following what they've set. But it's up to the teachers to choose the books and how to teach it to the students. And I think it's the how they teach, which is the most important. The method of teaching is helpful and supportive. And it helps the students to learn, and it helps the students to understand. And I think human teachers are needed in that way. So I think moving forwards, the books will change, the content will change. But I don't think that having robots or having teachers teaching online or not being there is a good idea. I think they need that kind of figure. They need that teacher and that person. They need a person, not a robot. And I think in the future, they need to keep that in mind, rather than just say, you just pass it on to a robot or some kind of figure in the sky who can just blurt out, or just give out information, but not teach it in a way that's very helpful to others. Sure, they can have the information, they can know all the answers, but if they don't show if they don't teach it in a way that helps the students to learn, then the students learn nothing. The information can be there. They can read it as much as they want, but it won't stick in their heads. It won't stay with them. It will just be there forever. And then they wouldn't have to use their brains. They would just be, oh, Google can tell me, a cloud in the sky can tell me, or whatever it is in the future can tell me. I'll just look it up. I don't need to think for myself or try to have that knowledge myself. Anyway, thank you for listening to my podcast. That is the end of it. I think I'm just ranting on at the moment. So let me know, what do you think, listeners? Let me know, how do you think English might be taught in the future? How do you think any kind of subject will be taught in the future in that case? And also, what kind of books do you think will become the next kind of classic books? We've had so many different books and so many different stories over the past few years that could be relevant. I'm guessing sci-fi fiction like Harry Potter and The Hunger Games and those kind of apocalyptic books that are really, really, really popular. I'm not sure if there's any other kind of ones. What's also interesting, actually, just before I finish, is touching on video games. Recently came out as a TV show, and if you haven't seen the movie, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's amazing. It's a really good TV show. It was based on a game. It's based on a game called Fallout, and it's a really interesting show. I really liked it. Thought that from a game show to a TV show, they managed to support it, managed to make it its own. So if you ever have a chance to watch it, yeah, it's great. And, in the future, they could have books on it. Fallout could be the next book, and it's so much in it. Like, so many little nuances and so many little pieces. Sci-fi at its best. I guess I can say that. I might be wrong. Just let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, the end of my rant. So please leave a comment. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope you have enjoyed it. You are interested in becoming a writer and an author, and then I have to say, visit hanazwriters.co.uk. They are a publishing startup company based in London. They support writers and authors to write their stories, and it's a great platform to help you get started in the world of writing, really. You can also follow them on Instagram at hanaz.writers. They also have a Facebook and Twitter page, so have a look for them there. Also, remember to like and subscribe to their YouTube channel, where I will be making some more of their podcasts. So thank you, Hanaz Writers, for allowing me to do my podcast with you guys. Listeners, for listening. And until next time, bye.